Hello and welcome to the 150th episode of The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
First off, we want to thank all of you for going to the 150th episode and tuning in. Whether this is your very first The Reasons I'm Broke episode or you've listened to all 150, everything in between, thank you so much for staying with us for this long, for supporting us with the reviews, for supporting us just by clicking on listen or by subscribing or by clicking on that play button.
Just download. You don't even need to listen. Just download.
Either way, it's awesome. Thank you so much. And we've got more things coming later on. But for any new listeners, go ahead and give them a rundown, Kelly.
So the way we format our show is first we start out with some news. This ranges from comics, movies, TV, video games, anything that makes us broke, which is a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we follow up with our comic book pull list of the week. This is typically DC, but sometimes we have some Marvel and indie in there, as you will see we have this week.
That's right. So we've got a bigger portion of it will be television and movie this week. But I do want to kick it off with our one bit of video game news. It has been slower this past 3 or 4 weeks. There hasn't been anything big on Nintendo or video games or even PlayStation. It's been a little bit slower. But I did remember the other day that we haven't really given our final impressions of Arkham Knight. Now that we've finished the game and we've given it a couple of weeks to kind of settle and give our overall opinion and thoughts about the third installment from Rocksteady.
So I actually just watched this game. I get very frustrated with video games, so I make Dan play them and I watch them and just tell him what to do. You know, typical woman things. So Dan, if you want to go ahead and start out with your opinion as someone who actually played the game.
Sure, I'll kick it off with the gameplay itself. I think the Batmobile complaint was legitimate, but it did take about an hour of learning as far as the Batmobile went. I think by the end of it, I had the hang of it. Like, I could turn corners, I could easily run away from other vehicles. It wasn't perfect. The controls weren't as good as, let's say, when you play as Batman as far as the free-flow combat, but it was still a very playable experience, and I am glad that they did put in the Batmobile, even though it was in there a little bit too much than what I expected. And the graphics, of course, are amazing. It's the best game I've seen so far. That's only because that is really the only current-gen game that we own. And that's our only PS4 game aside from Transistor, which could easily play on a PlayStation 3. And story mode, I think, is probably where the game suffered the most. Length is great, and the voice acting is phenomenal from Kevin Conroy and others. I'm still not going to spoil it, just in case. I know the game's older, but I'm still not going to spoil who the other big actor is. But yeah, it's just that story was very weak. As we said months ago, we were able to predict who the Arkham Knight was. And even as you're playing the game, you know, okay, it's exactly this character, unfortunately. And the payoff at the very end, which is supposedly the cap-off to the trilogy of the Arkham games, is not great. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a disappointment. It leaves you hanging, and not in a good way. I can take a cliffhanger. I don't mind them at all. We took it with Flash and Constantine, as we said last week.
And we hated it.
But with Arkham Knight, it's not satisfying at all. It's a very short cutscene at the very end, and it doesn't wrap up many of the loose ends, at least as far as Batman's internal struggle with what he has to deal with in terms of Gotham and everything else that the Scarecrow has put forth in front of him.
I agree with that 100%. I don't have anything to say for the gameplay. I don't think I've played this game since the first one in the GameStop display when I was great at beating up people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the best at this game, and then you got better at it than me, and then I gave up. But as far as watching it, like you said, the story really suffered compared to the other ones. I could predict everything from a mile away. I actually preferred the side missions more.
Yes.
A lot more. Just running around, solving riddles with Catwoman, and then you'd hear crazy music and you gotta go find some cray-cray body over there because there's opera music. Those were my favorite parts of the game, and I feel they were very well executed.
They were sort of like little episodes from Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Like, you can take those little side missions and write it into a 30-minute episode from the cartoon or from a live-action show even.
That, Professor Pig one, though, we could not have made that an episode.
Bruce Timm could have done it. There are a few characters that they could never do in Batman the Animated Series, but I somehow feel like Professor Pig, the doll maker, they would somehow make them work in that 1993 cartoon. Somehow they would make it work.
too dark. The kids weren't ready.
if they were ready for like, okay, so the ventriloquist always scared me as a kid. If I can take that, I'm sure I can take Professor
Yeah, but
Pig.
like looking at it now, it's not as scary.
And neither would Professor Pig in the animated series, because I knew Kevin Conroy would stop him.
Okay. So like you said, the Batmobile, a little too much. I agree with that 100%. You'd hop in your Batmobile and I'd like fall asleep every time, literally. And then I'd wake back up when something happened. But I knew I had like those 10 minutes of nap time that I could squeeze in there. So is it as solid as the other ones? No. Would I have missed out on it? No. Definitely worth the money.
And worth the system buy. I think as big of Batman fans as we are, we still got a ton out of it. There were a ton of Easter eggs that we were like, oh, I know what that is, like the Grey Ghost and little things with Hush as well. Things he references, not necessarily from Arkham City, but from the books that were written. So it's like a lot you can digest as a Batman fan, as a comic reader, as a watcher of even just the cartoons. There's something there for everyone. It's just unfortunate that the bigger picture here is the video game story, and that is a direct thing to Paul Dini not coming back for the third game, unfortunately. And I'll always wonder what this third Arkham game could have been if Paul had returned, if this was even his idea at all to make the Arkham Knight or to make Scarecrow the main villain.
No, it definitely was not. He would have picked like Harley and Ivy running around in skimpy clothes.
I really honestly think that Hush was going to be a bigger part of this third game if Paul Dini had stayed on, because the way he wrote his dialogue in Arkham City, it made it seem like, I trapped you, Batman, and I was able to do this. I have control of this situation, and now I am you, and I look like you. I'll see you in the third game. And yes, we did, but it was just like you mentioned, a side mission, and I feel like he would have been a main part of the story and a great part of the story, because Hush is still one of the best-selling trades that you find out there.
Right. I think that definitely would have made an amazing story, too, because we focus so much on Batman. Of course, it's a Batman game, but this would give us the opportunity. Of course, Hush is running around as Bruce Wayne. So now we're trying to save Bruce Wayne's name, but you can only do it as Batman, because Batman can't become Bruce Wayne, because then there's two Bruce Waynes, and whoa, what's happening?
This Batman, as we have grown to know and relate to him from the past two games, and you do have to separate this Batman from like the comics or the video games, based on everything he did here, where he was protecting, the Robins and Oracle and Alfred, and he was keeping them all away. Does that seem like something this version of Batman would have done compared to what he did in Arkham City and Arkham Asylum? I felt like he shut himself off too much from the Batman family, and I know Batman does do that, but based on the previous two games, I feel like he would have been a little bit more open about including them as opposed to what ended up happening in Arkham Knight.
I think it was realistic because of his condition, and I think his condition played a large part in that, and I don't want to spoil his condition.
And of course the big reveal on the main villain, although Batman doesn't know who that is up to this point even, and that's why I'm still like, well, that doesn't really work as to why he's keeping the rest of the Bat family away, including Alfred. So I don't know, I feel like it was a bit out of character from the Arkham universe Batman that we've kind of grown to know. I mean, this is the Batman that punched sharks and stuff, and in Arkham Knight, he kind of let himself get defeated a little bit too much. It was definitely a darker experience than the others.
I will say, though, it may have been my favorite part in any of this series is when he had that final showdown against his condition.
That was excellent. Probably
Yes.
the highlight of the game.
That was amazing. It's like they took all their writing skill and put it in right there, and they just forgot the rest of it.
Like they made the game just for this, and they're like, well, and then we'll fill in the rest later.
And I'm kind of okay with that, because that was such an iconic and memorable moment, and I probably remember that more than any other part of this entire trilogy, except for Batman walking the dinosaur, but that wasn't even really part of the game.
In this trilogy, I will still never forget that moment when you're walking the Joker in Arkham Asylum through the cells and he's strapped down, and when the lights go out, Batman just puts his arm around the Joker's throat, and then when that portion when you have a flashback to that, slight spoilers, in Arkham Knight, I just got chills because it's like, this is like I'm back in the first game again. That first experience where we're like, holy shit, this is the Batman game that we've all been waiting for years. And I'm playing it right now. Like, I felt that again when I was playing Arkham Knight, and it was so great.
That's
so great.
Sweet.
Let's touch up on the DLC a little bit. So far, we've gotten the Batgirl DLC and some skins and racetracks and a couple of challenge maps, I guess I would say. I think the content for Arkham Knight has been significantly lighter than Arkham City's, and a big portion of that is that the challenge maps aren't really unlocked in Arkham Knight as they were in Arkham City. Like Arkham City, you had all the maps and different portions of each map, different themes based on the villains that you're going to fight from depending on how far you got in the story. And in Arkham Knight, you don't really have that. It's a lot less that you get, and I feel like they're holding on a lot of that for the DLC, and that is a product of them trying to sell the season pass, unfortunately. People that definitely waited, like we said you should, and we were saying like we're stupid for not waiting, but I'm telling you, if you have the patience, wait for the Game of the Year edition, because that will include all of these things for $60. They're going to get the better end of the deal, because if they get as many challenge maps as they did in Arkham City or more, they're all set. But for now, the season pass so far hasn't really, it's $40, but I don't feel like we've gotten $40 worth of entertainment yet.
I would agree with that. I think that we will definitely get our money's worth out of it. It would be dumb of them not to, because they've built up their name as putting out a great product and giving people what they want, and then to suddenly say, here we are at the end, but you're not getting any more. Like, that just destroys their name, and people aren't going to forget that.
Next DLC being the Batman Michael Keaton skin, as well as the Batmobile, which I really can't wait to play as. I think it's in about a week and a half. Very soon, get to play as that iconic Tim Burton Batmobile. I cannot wait. That was one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite Batmobiles of all time, and my favorite being the animated series one, of course, from season 1 through 3. But just being able to play that, it'll somehow work in this Arkham video game. I never would have thought that, and I'm still holding out for the animated skins that came out in Arkham City to make a return in Arkham Knight. So I'm just crossing my fingers.
Think if you could drive that Batmobile.
Oh, that'd be perfect. I can't wait. Then it's the $40 is fulfilled. I'm in.
I would never get you away from the TV then. You'd just be driving around Gotham City. And I'd be like, Dan, come on, it's time to eat. You haven't eaten in 3 days. And you're like, that's all you do.
So go ahead and rank the 3 Arkham games from your least favorite to your favorite.
Oh.
And we're not going to include Arkham Origins. We're just going to do the Rocksteady games. So Arkham Knight, Arkham City, and Arkham Asylum.
I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 in the order they came out.
Asylum is your favorite. That's very interesting.
I think so. And my reasoning is because, like you said, this was the Batman game that we had all been waiting for. There was such excitement and joy in every single moment that you went through this game. And then when you got to the second one, it was great and the story was great and there were so many aspects that were amazing. But it was, yes, this lives up to what the first game gave us. We still feel like Batman. But I remember just being in awe watching you. And I think I played some of the first game too. But just being in awe that I actually felt like Batman. I wasn't playing a Batman game. I was Batman in the game. And while the other 2 games certainly lived up to that, it was expected at that point.
For me personally, it goes Arkham City, then Arkham Asylum, and finally Arkham Knight. And very similar reasons, except for the fact that Arkham City took what Arkham Asylum built and expanded on it. So we got like the triple-double takedowns and all of that. We got the extra weapons, extra silent takedowns, and the story itself became much bigger. And it focused on Ra's al Ghul. Like, that alone was just amazing. Oh, yeah, and his
dumb daughter was in it. That's why it's not my favorite
Loved
either.
It. Well, she died in it, so it should have been your favorite.
Nope.
And Catwoman was in it as well, which she was... Was she in Arkham Asylum? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
She was playable in Arkham City for sure, though.
Yes.
So that was like a big milestone in and of itself. So yeah, definitely 2, 1, and 3 for me personally. But if any Brokettes out there have played the trilogy and have completed them, let us know what your ranked Arkham games are on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke or Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke.
Next, we're going to head into our movie and television news. As we said earlier, this is probably the biggest portion of the news that we have this week. First up, Fanforstic released this last weekend, and you had the opportunity to go see it.
Yep, I went to see Fantastic from 20th Century Fox, and that, of course, is Fantastic Four for anyone that doesn't get the joke on the logo. But I had higher hopes for it than most people out there, I think, because it was such an uphill battle for this movie. The Marvel fanboys were against it because it wasn't a Marvel Studios film. It wasn't with the same universe as the Avengers or the rest of the other Marvel movies. And then critics also were really shitting on it. When it's convenient, don't listen to the critics. But when it is convenient, then listen to them. And
yeah, okay.
I saw that flip flop even with people that I work with or interact with every day, and they're like, "Oh, the critics are not." It has a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, but you were just saying that. Who gives a shit about critics? Like, as long as you're gonna enjoy the movie or whatever. I think Ant-Man started off lower than expected, and then the reviews really started coming in, and it went up higher. But until then, they were like, "Well, I'm still gonna watch it, and I'm gonna expect this." I'm gonna make up my own opinion.
Yeah, okay.
But when it's the opposite, and it's a movie that they're not interested in, then it's like, oh, look at this 10%. It's so funny, the bias and the flip-flops that I see. It fascinates me sometimes, and I can't point it out every time because then there's a tap dance that they do, and eventually they get upset. So that's why I'm just going to let it go. But in this case, yeah, it was when it comes to movies that we're on the fence about, we'll look at the ratings and we'll look at the reviews for like Rotten Tomatoes. We did that with Jurassic World a little over a month ago. And it paid off that time.
Yeah.
So for this one, does it deserve the 10% Rotten Tomatoes score? I personally wouldn't say so. If I had to put, I hate putting numbers on a ranking system. We never do that for movies or video games or anything like that. And I don't think I could still. I'm not going to give it a star or 2 stars or whatever. But unfortunately for this movie, it started off okay. Like, it has a very solid opening and origin for these characters. The talent is very strong here. And there's a lot of really good elements at work, but then the story is what is rushed and what really fails in the entire movie. Like, you have all these great pieces, but there's no picture that can be put together here. It's very messy, extremely messy. And now I'm hearing things with the background about the director overspending on his budget, so the studio started pushing, and then he started to push back, and at some point left the set for days or something. All kinds of rumors. He put out a tweet once the box office returns came in and reviews came in from fans and critics, and he said, "My cut of the movie would have gotten much better reviews, but the studio doesn't want that, so I guess you'll never see it." And then he deleted the tweet after that, the director. So it was just a bunch of politics at work now.
So people being kids, high schoolers, made this movie.
Made me wonder if it was well received and it did well, if the director would even say anything at all. But either way,
I still would as a director. I'd be like, "Oh, you think this is good? You should have seen my cut."
So it's a best. I hate to say it, like, it's the best Fantastic Four movie so far, and that's not saying much at all. And on my personal list of Marvel movies, I guess I'd put it just underneath Thor. And I know it's not in the same universe or anything. I know it's not a great position to be in. But it's not a disaster. And that's exactly how I'll summarize it. It's not a good movie, but it's not a disaster.
It's not the Avengers for you. But it's not better than Thor.
Here's perfect right here summary is it tried to be a movie, like an action, not just a popcorn flick. Like, it was trying to tell a compelling story and build up its characters. And once it got to that third and fourth act, it was like, okay, well, now it's got to be a superhero movie, so we got to have the popcorn stuff.
So it tried to be too many different things.
I guess so, yeah. Just a huge change of tone right near the end, unfortunately. And the character development that it was building is completely out the window right then. And that's why you don't care about the characters, you don't care about the story anymore. And it's unfortunate because they could have done something pretty cool with these guys. And they just kind of dropped the ball or let it flop or whatever. And the earnings so far have been less than Ant-Man. And it will take the top spot over the weekend. And that's fine. But I don't see this... I don't think it'll get a sequel, to be perfectly honest with you. And that doesn't mean that they're going to sell over to Marvel. And I saw tweets out there saying, don't watch Fantastic Four so that the rights can go back to Marvel. That's not a guarantee. They can keep it, reboot it again in another 7 years, and, call it a day. They don't have to give up the rights. If they see a value in this, fine. They could still, in the future, cross it over with X-Men if they wanted to. By the way, don't stay after the credits. There's nothing if you're going to see it. But... I mean, that's basically it. I don't know if any broadcasts out there felt differently, but overall, it seemed like everyone really did not like this movie.
You know what would have made it better?
Batman?
Well, I mean, Batman makes everything better, but like realistically, what would have made it
What's
better?
that?
Dougie Jones.
As the Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
Or as, okay.
Well, or just as himself. He could have just kind of, guys, let's stop fighting. And then I'd have been like, okay, Dougie Jones. And then it would have gotten like 100% tomatoes.
Maybe.
Definitely.
Why did Fantastic Four 2 not have 100% tomatoes?
Because nobody realized it was Dougie Jones. I saw a thing on Pinterest the other day. It said, Dougie Jones, the actress you never knew you... The actress...
That's fitting, too.
The actor you never knew you loved. Because nobody knows who he is.
It's so true, though. Yeah, because he's always in costume.
Right.
He's
He
always
does
doing
so many,
motion
like,
capture.
faces and different voices. But we all love him.
I'm going to bring back nostalgia for you, Brocat, something we did not bring up, one of his roles last week, and that is in Hocus Pocus. He's the zombie in that movie. And now that they're making a Hocus Pocus 2, I'm like, bring back Doug Jones.
Yeah, they should. They
He's
will.
even better than before.
He's amazing now.
That he is. So now we're going to continue with more 20th Century Fox news, and that is that the studio has revealed that they are working on getting an X-Men television series secured. So on the completely opposite spectrum, a big success for them has been X-Men.
Fox Television Group Chairman and CEO Dana Walden was quoted saying, "We're in negotiations with Marvel. We're hopeful we'll be able to announce something soon. We're not closed on a deal yet, but it's something we're definitely pursuing."
While 20th Century Fox owns the rights to the X-Men on film, Marvel still has to sign off on any expansion of the franchise to television.
So Marvel's gonna go, you give us a cut of that and sure. And then it's gonna happen.
If you were Disney Marvel, would you even at all secure this and sign off on it? If you're trying to get back the rights to X-Men, let's say, wouldn't you be like, keep trying to make successful movies and eventually you won't be able to? Then maybe we can try to pay, give them a check from Disney and get the X-Men rights. Or would you try to get the money now with television and kind of let them expand themselves into whatever plan they're heading? Maybe, possibly, I don't know, or greater success.
It would be a toss-up. Me personally, if I was getting a cut of it, I would say, yeah, go ahead, make your movie, or your TV, whatever, give me a cut of it, because I'm making money on something I'm not making money on right now anyway, because I don't have the full rights to it. Like, I'm not making money off movies and all that stuff. And it's money I'm making for not doing any work. So you're laying the groundwork. And, honestly, I hope that they would make them big characters, because someday they will get the rights back to them, and then they've done all your marketing for you, making these characters great. If they run the characters into the ground, even if I say, oh, here's a reboot, people are still going to have in their mind, oh, but remember when it was shitty.
Right.
And there's going to be those people who won't understand that it's a different studio making it. They're still going to be like, it's shitty.
Well, you're saying that now with Fantastic Four. I was reading some tweets and people saying, how come the Avengers didn't show up? Or why isn't this not connected to the other films?
Exactly.
And those are people that are just, watching the movies and enjoying them for what they are. And they don't understand that, there's some politics at work here. It's not the same companies. Marvel shows up on the screen, but that doesn't mean that it's all the same universe, so that they can play with one another.
Exactly. So, honestly, if I were Marvel Disney, I'd be wanting them to do a great job. I'm getting a cut of it for no work. And they're just making my inevitable repossession of this franchise more successful.
Would you watch an X-Men television show? Let's say, I'm assuming it's going to take place at the school.
Yes, and it'll probably take place, if Disney had it, it'd take place in high school. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Teenager Wolverine, teenager Cyclops.
Of course. Or their kids. They call it the X-descendants. I'd give it a shot. Who's playing Wolverine?
I honestly think it's just going to be like other mutants, smaller mutants that they don't use in the main franchise, and then they could cross them over into the movies and back and forth. You can even have cameos from Hugh Jackman in the television show.
If Hugh Jackman were there, yes, I would watch it. But that's because he is a beautiful human being. If Daniel Craig was in there, he could play somebody. Oh no, if Captain Picard was in there, I'd watch it. Again,
Xavier himself.
Beautiful human being. Or if either of the Magnetos were in there. Could be either one. From First Class or from the old ones. I would watch it then too.
Either way, we're going to give the X-Men television show a shot. We've enjoyed most of the X-Men films, so why not, you know?
Moving into some DC television news, Wally West has been cast for Season 2 of The Flash.
Kanan Lonsdale will play the iconic speedster known as Kid Flash.
This version of Wally West will be more in line with the New 52 version of the character, who is African American.
So if they go anywhere like the suit from the comic books, from the current book, he will have I think it's a white and blue suit. Whenever he runs, you don't see the red. Instead, you see like white and blue streaks.
Cool.
And I don't know if they're going to go with some kind of multiverse version of the Flash or someone that Barry ends up helping. With the hint already that we are going to visit a different version of the universes for the Flash, anything is possible, to be honest with you. And I think getting a second speedster on the show is not a bad thing at all, especially with the diverse nature of what they're going for here. I think you're going to see a lot of people gravitate towards this version of Wally West as well. If you're already enjoying The Flash and Barry Allen, you're already hooked, and for some reason you're against the New 52 version of Wally West, I don't think him appearing in the television show is going to ruin the entire show for you. If you're already invested in Season 1, you're going to watch all of Season 2, and you're going to enjoy it for what it is.
I agree 100%. I am actually not particularly familiar with Wally West from the New 52, so I'm very much looking forward to this, to get to be introduced into a new character. I've only seen Wally West in Young Justice, which needs to come back, guys. BT dubs. Somebody get on that for me, please. So this is great. I love the new aspect that it's definitely going to bring to the show. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. Is this going to be like a cocky speedster who, you know, has already developed his powers and is giving, you know, Barry a hard time because, oh, how come you don't know this shit? Like, there's so much you can do. It's so much fun.
Maybe they race.
That'd be cool. Who would win?
You'd have to tune in to find out.
Batman would win.
Another DC show that got a bit of a sneak peek this last week was Gotham Season 2.
Yeah, we did see a Season 2 trailer. It's not very long. I don't think it reveals too much. It's kind of just like, hey, we had some clips lying around. Here they are.
Yeah, this second season will premiere on Fox September 21st of this year. And it was basically revealing Arkham Asylum to viewers out there. As we saw, the potential Joker from the Season 1 is going to make an appearance here. You're going to see Gordon's ex-girlfriend, Barbara, appear as well, who some people are speculating might be Harley Quinn because she connects to the Joker character. And that would definitely be a bit of an odd twist. But at this point, we've already accepted that this version of Gotham is already vastly different than anything else we've seen in movies or comics.
We also get to see, like, a Catwoman whip.
Yeah, they're planting the seeds for Catwoman using that weapon in the future.
Yeah, and some lady with a gas mask.
I guess a new character, new villain.
Maybe, we'll see. Maybe it's a reimagining of a current one. So, not a lot of questions answered. We get to see Penguin, and he was smiling. I mean, what else is new?
The most popular part of the show.
Yes, of course. So, I'm excited for the new season, because I did really enjoy the last one, especially Bullock. Can we just call it Bullock?
We could.
And Alfred needs to be in there too. They can be partners.
I think the show's just okay. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's a good show. It's not. But it's entertaining enough that we tuned in every single week, and we're going to watch Season 2 as well.
Of course. So, September 21st. Almost there.
And we do have a question here from Twitter user @TheIrishOnFire, who wants to know what we think the most underrated comic story is for each of us.
You go ahead with yours.
I'm going to go a little bit more current because I want this book to get more sales, and it's actually going to be Silver Surfer.
Oh, I was going to say Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
No, Silver Surfer has definitely given me better comics in the long run. And every time I look in the bins on their SI, I'm like, oh, the same surfing books are still there. Like, come on, somebody catch up on these. There's a bunch of number ones here in the bins. You can catch up on the story. The trade paperback is out, so if you don't want to collect the single issues, get it that way, and it's cheaper. The artwork is amazing by Michael Allred and Laura Allred, and we've really been enjoying it, especially if you like space, galaxy, crew things, space battles, love stories, good artwork. If you don't mind a little bit of a simplistic tone to it, which I don't want to say Michael Allred's artwork is simplistic compared to, say, Lee Bermejo's, but there's a a different your eye goes across those pages much differently than any other
Right,
artist.
it's very smooth.
Very clean, especially. And I think that fits with the galaxy theme of the entire book. And it's been extremely compelling from beginning to end. You've been seeing these two characters, Silver Surfer and Dawn, get closer after every single issue. They have their fall at some point during one of the arcs, but then you see them heal and grow because of that. And it's just a beautiful thing to see that you see in comics, but not from a Silver Surfer space guy, you know? Especially a Marvel character.
For me, can I say Saga?
I thought that's what you were going to say anyway. I just assumed.
Is Saga underrated? Everyone in the world needs to know
Not
about
at all.
Saga.
It's not underrated.
Saga is so underrated. Everybody needs to know about Saga. If I go, like, on the street to somebody who reads comics, I'm like, hey, have you read Saga? They'd probably be like, no, what's that? See? So everybody needs to know about Saga.
I'll just let you know, we carry about 10 copies of each of the trade paperback volumes. It's not underrated. Like, we carry more of those bitches than we do Batman.
Damn it. And with you should.
I thought we were going to go with Sex Criminals, although that one is also...
that one was my second runner-up, but they kind of shot themselves... I mean, I won't say they shot themselves in the foot, because it's great, but by naming it Sex Criminals, you then have those people who are like, oh, I don't know if I can... I don't know if I can read this. Sex. Criminals.
Every time I get people that want suggestions for that, I always have to warn them ahead of time, like, if you're a little sensitive, this might not be for you, but if you want to laugh, Sex Criminals.
But see, their title, you can tell that you can't be sensitive. With Saga, you can't tell. You're just flipping it up. Giant penis.
Yeah, lizard sucking its own dick.
Oh,
that happened in the comic.
Whole planet of sex.
Yeah.
That happened in like the first issue.
One of the issues, wasn't it just like this vagina and a baby's head coming out of it?
Yeah. That, and then it turned into like a demon baby, and that was page 1.
I was like, oh my god.
There was another one with page 1 where they were just like, fucking, it happened. Page 1, you just turned the page and it was there. I remember we used to read our comics in Starbucks. And we'd be sitting there, and I had to stop reading that book in Starbucks. Because I'd be sitting there, and there'd be like little kids at the next table, and I'm like, bloop. Titties everywhere.
By the way, Starbucks, if you want to sponsor the show, we're almost at our milestone goal 1. Great place to read comics. That's just a taste of what you can get.
Yeah. Give us a few more bucks and or free coffee.
There you go.
So, yeah, both of those are my underrated book. Because more people should. What about Little Gotham? Is Little Gotham underrated?
I'd say it is.
Okay,
absolutely.
So Little Gotham is my underrated book. It was an adorable Batman story. Great art by Dustin Nguyen, and it should continue on forever.
Another one that if I had to mention another one, it's going to be a little bit, I guess it's really underrated, but it's going to be Jingle Bell from Paul Dini. Mm-hmm. He used to bring that out every year around the holidays, and it is Santa Claus's daughter, who's half elf, half whatever Santa is. I don't know if that's human or...
Harley Quinn.
It's basically Harley Quinn in the North Pole, but yeah, she's naughty, she's not a good elf, she's always fucking up with this factory, and it's not for kids, of course, because it is a little bit raunchy at the same time. But
in Paul Dini style.
Yeah. And there's a couple of different issues that he released, and you can try to get them on eBay, and they're only like $3 a pop, so it's not that difficult to get. But it's very funny, very enjoyable. It should be on Comixology if your local comic shop doesn't have any. But at one point, listening from Paul Dini's podcast from like a couple years ago, he said that they were trying to get it to become a live-action movie, which I was shocked about because this wasn't a book that was, flying off the stands or anything like that. It comes out once a year, and at one point it was a miniseries, but after that it kind of just faded away, and he didn't come out with one last year. I'm hoping he comes out with one this year, but I absolutely love Jingle Bell. That's probably my favorite Christmas comic book.
There are more Christmas comic books? Is Saga a Christmas comic book?
There's a Krampus comic book.
I don't know who Krampus is. I'm going to pick Saga as my favorite Christmas comic book.
There's not even I don't think there's any holidays in that comic.
Because I feel like Christmas every time it comes out.
All right, there you go. You're opening up the present of comics.
Saga's here! Like I wake up at 6 in the morning, I'm like, damn, get up, Saga's here! And you're like, Kelly, we get the store's not even open. And I'm like, no, maybe it came in the middle of the night.
Awesome. So thank you for the question at The Irish on Fire. Make sure to follow him on Twitter as well. He'll be sure to chat it up with you and retweet anything that you do have to say to him in spite of comics or movies, whatever it is. He just saw Fan Four Stick as well, so definitely find him on there. Last week, as we were leading up to 150th episode, we didn't really have the definite launch of the Patreon account. It had been up for, I think, a day or two, but we didn't really go into detail over the milestone goals, and we're not going to go over all of them today because we do want to reach the first couple first, and then we'll, as we're going to our third or fourth, if we get to that point, then we can talk about the rest of the goals. But you could always check it out for yourself ahead of time, patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. And first milestone, go ahead and let them know what that is and what it entails.
So our first milestone goal is $20 a month. So for those of you unfamiliar with Patreon, it is a service where you can donate X amount of money to us a month. This goes towards helping with the cost to put this podcast up online, some other services like improving the audio, maybe additional equipment that we may need to make this podcast better for all of you. So that's where the money is going. And then, of course, we have milestone goals that we would like to thank you guys with for your continued help and donations. So like I said, the first goal is $20 a month. When we reach that, this covers our costs through our server, Liberated Syndication. We use this service to get the podcast out across various platforms for all to enjoy each month.
So that is the basic of the basic right there. Like after this is where the show grows and improves and continues, and that's where prizes get out to you. And it starts off with the second milestone goal, which if we hit a combined donation total of $35 a month, we can provide cleaner and more leveled audio through Alphonic for all of our episodes, which includes this podcast, our Let's Plays on YouTube, and the unboxings each month. So for a sample, this 150th episode is used with Alphonic. And the reason we don't do that for every single one is because Alphonic only gives us 2 credit hours for free, and then it resets the next month. And unfortunately, you do have to put in, the entire audio, and then from there it tells you, okay, you have this much. You can't put it like the first 40 minutes and then do the rest in regular audio, unfortunately, which I wouldn't do anyway, because that would be a drastic jump.
Oh, look at this. Because that's what our podcast sounds like normally.
We turn into Bane for that second half of the season there, or the episode. So, yeah, go ahead.
And my pick of the week is sex criminal. That would be great.
Although some people maybe they want that, so
I want that. Are you kidding? I'm gonna do Bane voice for the second half of this thing now.
But yeah, with Alphonic, it'll be this service for every single one of our episodes, because we would get way more than enough hours to cover the Let's Plays again and the podcast. And again, this is a sample of it right here. We're using up our credits for the 150th episode.
Our third milestone goal is $55 per month. With this, we would do a t-shirt giveaway every month to a random patron supporter. Monthly winner chooses the size, color, and design as provided by the choices on our shop.
So very awesome. Even if you donate just $1 a month, you will be included in that giveaway every month once we reach that milestone goal. And that is the very basic minimum for the Patreon. For $1 a month, if you only listen to the podcast, that equals to 25 cents per episode. And if you get 25 cents worth of entertainment or laughs or knowledge, that alone, if you're like, that's great, $1. Every little bit helps. And this will get you a special shout out on the podcast every month, thanking you for becoming a patron. You also become an exclusive access voter on polls that will affect the show moving forward. So it could be stuff that includes future prizes, or if we vote for an artist to be included in the giveaway once we reach that milestone goal. It could be all kinds of things. And
if Daniel should cook dinner for me tonight.
And the polls will begin after 5 patron backers. We've already got 2 backers, which is awesome. And normally you're supposed to wait till the very first month so that, the Patreon support clears. But I do want to thank right away Purple Swordfish, that's at Purple Swordfish Show, or it might be, I think it's at Purple Swordfish. But either way, if you head on over to purpleswordfish.com, it will immediately redirect you to his YouTube channel. He was our very first supporter, and he puts up Let's Plays on YouTube. Again, that's www.purpleswordfish.com. And definitely subscribe to his channel because he is helping out a lot with the Patreon. And the second one being, we heard about him earlier at The Irish on Fire. He's the second supporter, and again, we will mention them again next month along with the rest of the supporters that do end up joining until then. And huge thanks to both of you, because you never forget the very first people who helped you, and the first people who tuned into the show, the first people you interacted with on Twitter. They join all of that, and it's absolutely awesome.
And if you feel like donating more than $1 a month, we have set up this reward for you once you get to $5 per month. So after 3 months of supporting the show, you'll get a The Reasons I'm Broke decal for your car or your window or your dog. You could stick it on your dog, wherever.
A lot of people put it on their laptops. I've
Yeah?
seen. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then every 3 months after, you'll get another decal of your choice as more designs and colors become available. This also includes our previous award of $1 per month.
Right, so that could be another thing that the polls decide. Like, what do you want the decal for the next month to be? And it could include even characters, whether they're made up on the show or ones you're familiar with. Who knows what it is? But again, that will all shape out as we continue with the Patreon.
Kelli will draw you a picture. Kelli cannot draw, but she will draw you a picture and will print it into a decal, and then you can put it on your car, and people can go, ugh. But no one will steal your car. So, there's a free security system.
Again, that's www.patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. There's a link on nerdupmedia.com as well. As we get closer to other milestone goals, we'll get more into specifics, but we did want to do one more round into exactly how the milestone goals worked for anyone that wasn't too familiar with it or felt that we didn't explain it enough last week.
And that does actually take care of all of our news for this week. A lot of movie and TV stuff coming out. Like we said, it is a slower week. Hopefully, it's just laying and waiting. You know that's how it works. Like, they give us nothing, and then they give us everything in the world. And then we sit here for 7 hours like, and then this is happening, guys, and this, and you should... And so you can all enjoy this slower time. But with that, we can actually move into our comic book pull list of the week. We're going to start out with 1 indie book. We have 2 Marvel and 4 DC.
This one we should have reviewed last week, but we were saving it for the bit that we did on YouTube.
Yeah, it was so funny. I'm adorable. Go watch it.
It's not a great, like Fantastic Four, it's not a great video. But
No, it's great. It's amazing. I grew a mustache for this video.
I enjoyed it, yeah. I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun. And apparently a couple of you enjoyed it as well. And that is Sex Criminals number 11, written by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, with art by Chip Zdarsky.
You did not say that correctly.
I didn't know there was a jingle to Sex Criminals.
Yeah, there is. Yup. Oh, please, you did not. I sing it all the time.
Sing it.
You've been hit by you've been struck by a sex criminal. Na 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 na. Ooh! I'm pretty sure I made up a whole song to that, and it's got like masturbation and stuff in there.
But it had been months since the last one came out, so yeah, we hadn't heard it.
Yep, well, there you go. There's your jingle.
Jumping on point, I felt like.
Yes. I still think you need like a little bit of background as to what's going on.
They were smart in that they introduced a brand new character with this issue. Mm-hmm. So people that did jump in, you're always going to be lost no matter what comic you pick. Like, there's no definite way to jump onto a series and know everything unless you jump in at number 1. But a jumping on point is like good enough to where you're like, okay, I can read forward and I'll understand it and I'll enjoy the comic enough. And I felt like Sex Criminals 11 was that. And that's because with this new character introduction and the 2 main ones, we find that, again, they're not the only ones that when they come, they stop time. There's more people out there, and some of them just are goofy with it. Like, they're not
just goofy with
They're not exactly criminals about it.
You can't call people and their sexual preferences goofy, Dan.
An anime girl came out of his dick.
Yeah, good for him. That's not goofy.
And if that's just him. If that sounded awesome to you, buy this comic.
You know what? An anime girl.
Because that happens.
Never mind. I gotta move on. I can't. It was a great book, guys. Pick it up.
Extremely funny. One of the best indie books you'll find.
But I can't. We gotta go. I'm gonna say this thing that I can't say. So let's just go.
Marvel books. Something that a kid's book, by the way, Kelly.
Yeah, okay.
Clean that filthy mind.
Just stop. So, giant-sized Little Marvel, AVX number 3, written and art by Scotty Young, and the colorist is Jean-Francisco Bellew.
Francois Bellew.
Oh, Francois. Jean-Francois Bellew.
This one was so far my favorite of the Little Marvel comics. And that's because it was more of your classic, kind of like newspaper strip jokes in it. And that the 2 twins that are trying to decide whether they want to join the Avengers or the X-Men, going through the different antics like the Danger Room or exercises with Captain America. and shenanigans happen, of course, during that, where they end up getting hurt or they end up getting in trouble, and that's where the heart of the comic is, and that's what I enjoyed the most, because I'm like, okay, what's going to be the next punchline, and I absolutely loved it.
My favorite part of this comic was that Wolverine was in both places.
Because he's an Avenger and an X-Men. Yeah.
That was my favorite part, and I picked up on it. I was so proud of myself. I'm like, I know Marvel things.
This Marvel is okay.
Very cute issue, though. I've been disappointed with the last two, but I feel this one stepped it up a little bit, and hopefully it's finding its stride and kind of getting a feel for what it wants to be. Very cute, great for adults and kids.
Last Marvel book for the week is Ultimate End number 4 of 5, written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Mark Bagley, and colors by Justin Ponsor. I'm assuming your pass of the week.
Yes. And do you know why it's my pass of the week?
Because who cares?
Because who cares? I still don't know what's going on. I mean, I kind of know what's going on. But Iron Man's like, fight all my Iron Men. Oh, but now I'm going to fight with myself, but still fight these Iron Men. I'm just distracting you. I'm doing other things.
That's the comic.
That is?
That is the comic.
I'm done.
I finished it. That is it. But I will tell you, this issue was better than the last one because they're like, Miles Morales is awesome, and that's the end of it.
So all they just had to make this comic that one page then of Miles swinging through the city.
He's the one that's going to change everything.
Okay, well that's fine, but they only needed to make it that page. They didn't need to waste my time with, I'm the Punisher, I shot myself out of your cloak. That's never happened before. Our asses got kicked. Oh, he's gone now.
Yeah, and this would have been my pass of the week as well if it weren't for a different comic. But
really? Oh, I know what your pass of the week is now.
Yeah.
But I can't summarize that as well as I can summarize this one. So you should make this your pass of the week.
There's one more comic left. Like I said, we're just going to stay on this sinking ship until the very end.
And guess what? It'll be my pass of the week next month, too.
It's much easier to do it with miniseries.
Would you like to know what's going to happen next month?
Nothing.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to summarize it right now. And then in a month, we're going to go back and listen to this and say, damn, Kelli, you were right. How'd you know?
All right, what happens in Ultimate End number 5 of 5?
Okay. All my Iron Men, we're still fighting. Oh, but we're going to be friends now so we can team up against this other guy. And we're all going to go fight him. And then Miles is there. And then nothing happens.
I'm going to add to that. I think most of them are going to die, but Miles will make it out of it. And that's going to be the end. Because that's what the whole reason for this is.
I want Miles to legit swing out of the comic and be like, I'm done with this shit. This is terrible.
Can we move on to my new ongoing, please? Thank you.
and that's going to be the end. Nothing is going to happen in the next issue. Or, you know what? No, a lot of nothing is going to happen in the next issue.
There you go.
So there's going to be stuff going on. And yeah, people dying and characters showing up and people you don't care about doing things you don't care about. And it's going to be hectic and chaotic. And I'm not going to know what's going on. And I'm not going to care. We should name this comic Who Cares number 4 of 5.
That's what it's called.
Good. So our next book is Bat-Mite number 3 of 6. This is written by Dan Jurgens with art by Corin Howell. And the colorist is Mike Atay.
This one's going to be my pick of the week.
No, that's my pick of the week. And I'm going to rename this comic as Why Don't You Care? Because everyone should care about this book.
Another jumping on point for any new readers, and this is Bat-Mite teaming up with Batman's son, that being Damian Wayne. And two complete opposite characters, and that's why it's a good comic. That's why you can have great writing with a comic like this, because one is Damian Wayne, who has murdered in the past, who is the most serious Robin of the bunch, with Bat-Mite, who's a cartoon character, basically. And absolutely hilarious, and the two eventually grow to bond one another. There's jokes here about comics themselves. There's jokes here about people who say kids nowadays. That's in there as well. And one of the panels, which I'm going to tweet out later on, is basically the main villain, and not to spoil too much, but shitting on today's generation, and Bat-Mite being like, oh, yours was much better with all that racism and sexism back then. That didn't exist? Come on.
The thing that I loved the most was the nod to Batman 66. Did you catch that? The old TV show with I say old like it was so many lifetimes ago, with shark repellent.
Oh, yeah. I did catch that.
And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I love Bat-Mite's, when he creates the backstory for this villain. I thought it was so funny. I relate to Bat-Mite. I think that's why I like him so much.
He makes fun of comic tropes on top of that, while making fun of the villain, like pretty much poking at his face and being like, "You're lame. This is why."
Yep, I love it. I feel like if I could become any character, I would choose to be Bat-Mite. Because I would just have so much fun. And I would do all this silly shit that he does. It's great. It's perfect.
Any artists out there want to do Kelly up as Bat-Mite?
That'd be
Go for it.
Everybody's like, nah,
Tweet
man.
it.
Nah.
It's just Bat-Mite with red hair coming out of the sides. There you go. All done.
Are you saying I look like that?
If you were a cartoon Bat-Mite, yes, you would look like that with red hair.
No. You're saying I look like that.
If you were a cartoon, yes, that's what you would have to look like. If you're going to be Bat-Mite, you got to look like that. You can't look like yourself now and just have a Batman costume.
But that's not fair.
That's what it is. You wanted to be Bat-Mite.
But like personality-wise, not like short, fat, and stubby-wise.
All right, so you want to
With
look like yourself
5 o'clock shadow.
and just be Bat-Mite.
Yes.
In your mind.
Yes. I want to be a cute Bat-Mite.
All right.
I want to be a Bat-MightyCute. That's what I want to be, not like Bat-Mighty Ugly. Come on.
A comic that also Dan Jurgens wrote, but isn't quite as good. That is being Batman Beyond #3, written by Dan Jurgens, art by Bernard Chang, and colors by Marcelo Maiolo.
This is your pass of the week.
It is not.
No?
Nope. There's one book that is worse than this one. Not the greatest round of comics here, but
No.
Batman Beyond 3, I am done with Batman Beyond. This was probably the best of the 3 because this is probably the most that Tim Drake is acting like Terry McGinnis, but it's not enough to carry the story.
But he had that super cheesy line where somebody called him Tim, and he goes, "I'm not Tim, I'm Batman."
He has to be that's a Terry McGinnis type of thing
I'm
to
pretty
say.
sure I laughed out loud in the break room while I was reading this.
It's like, you're not Batman, you're just fucking Tim Drake in the future, and you're stuck there, and eventually you'll come back, and maybe if they're smart, they'll bring back Terry McGinnis, because that's who people expect to read about when you're reading Batman Beyond.
I would see his brother becoming Batman Beyond before Terry comes back.
That'd be a little weird, I think.
I know, I think they're setting it up for it.
Maybe he'll be Robin Beyond. They haven't had that
Or maybe
yet.
he'll become Batman Beyond, and Tim Drake can go back to being Robin Beyond.
That's fine, too. But we won't find out, because, this was
it.
on the chopping block, and that's it for us.
Our next book is Detective Comics number 43. This is written by Brian Buccellato with art by Fernando Blanco, and the colors is also Brian Buccellato.
No more Francis Manapul, officially gone from the book. Soon, also, Brian Buccellato will leave to be replaced by Peter J. Tomasi. And I'm really looking forward to it, which is why we're sticking through the comics so far. But this feels like a Gotham Central comic more than it does a Batman book. It focuses a lot on Harvey Bullock, which is the saving grace for Detective Comics right now, because as you've said before, you don't really like this new Batman as much. And but Harvey Bullock is who they're really developing, and the villain that they throw in this book too. I'm like, this is not who I wanted to see at all. Like, who gives a shit? I'm going to tell you because it's not a great comic, and that's Joker's daughter pops up. And I'm like, come on.
Randomly.
Like, I don't want to see this. She's not a good character in the New 52. Let's get rid of this nonsense. But nope, she's going to be this main villain for the arc, I guess. I don't really know, or maybe this crew of Day of the Dead members. I have no idea.
I would rather see the Day of the Dead members than Joker's daughter, though, because you could make them interesting. Joker's daughter, I'm just like, oh.
And it seems like they're having more fun writing Harvey Bullock than anyone else, and that's fine, but unfortunately everything else around Harvey Bullock's life is not interesting. Like, they're setting up his thing where he's like, okay, I want to murder this other cop, and she's betraying us, and I want to try to take care of Jim at the same time.
You betray me, and I am the fool. Can that happen in there, please?
Tommy Wiseau, yeah.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's not enough to keep us going with this arc that they've sort of set up with us, and I'm just glad there's going to be a new creative team. It feels like we're shitting on a lot of books this week.
Yeah, a little bit. But then we had, like, the shining light that was Bat-Mite.
Yeah, that's right. Is that the first time it was our pick of the week?
No, it's been my pick of the week every issue.
Okay.
So far.
Cool.
It's, like, but still not as good as Saga. But it's up there. Like, Saga's, like, the top of everything. And then you jump down, like, halfway. And then I have some, like, shining stars. But Saga's, like, the sun of my solar system. There would be no life without Saga.
Awesome. And now comes my pass of the week, that one being Justice League Gods and Monsters Wonder Woman #1, written by J.M. DeMatteis and Bruce Timm, art by Rick Leonardi, and colors by Alan Pasalacqua.
Do I need to try and summarize this one?
Best of luck, because so much happens, but it's not... It's a whole lot of nothing that happens also.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I came to this world, I don't know who I am. Never mind, I know who I am. Let's do some drugs. I'm a hippie now. Oh, but you're a bad hippie. You're turning people into zombies. JK, you're turning them into man-bats. Oh, you used my powers. Now I saved them. Now I kill you.
This is not the Wonder Woman that we saw in that short on YouTube. The videos that they've been putting out to promote the Gods and Monsters DVD, the Wonder Woman one was amazing, and it met with some criticism because they're like, oh, they're sexualizing the character, but we had said a couple episodes ago that it was like, well, she's the whole powering force from that entire scene, from that whole... We haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how she plays out in it, but it's like, that is a strong character. Like, whether or not you take it, like, sex does not weaken a character.
Right.
The act of it,
sex is a powerful weapon.
Absolutely. But you don't see any of that here. Like, she's completely weak the entire time, and that's not the Wonder Woman that was represented in the video, unfortunately. And that's what I think was the most disappointing for me. Like, I understand that they're trying to make it so that she's adapting to Earth, but they could have gone with a much better story than like her learning with hippies and traveling the Earth just like Zod did in the Superman book.
They all have to travel the Earth. That's how you become a good superhero, Dan. You have to travel the Earth.
It's lazy. And there's tons of exposition here. Like, every page is just her thinking and saying, and then we went over here, and then we did this. Now here's the scene.
And then we grew some plants.
And then I felt this thing within me that was goodness, and I felt the good in her. And just like that time I remembered, it's like, stop it. Don't tell me. Show me in the comic.
You know what? I think this was a woman book, and I think that's why I like it a little bit more than you do. Because I didn't hate it. But that's what us women do. We like to listen to the exposition, and we like to see love gone astray and friendships lost, and that's what happened. And I'm okay with it.
I didn't like it.
Well, because are you a woman?
Nope.
Okay, because I'd have a lot of questions if you were.
I'm sure there's many women that didn't like this comic. Probably for the same reasons I did.
Maybe. And good. I didn't hate it, though. What I hated was Who Cares?
Number 4.
Number 4 of 5. I hated that book. I didn't particularly like Robin Beyond, number 3. Sex Criminals was good.
But anyway, that's it. That's my pass, and I'm sticking to it. But we do want to summarize real quick. My pick of the week, actually yours as well, was Bat-Mite number 3 of 6. You've heard my pass. My pass of the week was Ultimate End number 4 of 5. We'd like to thank you all over Twitter, on the podcast, and I never feel like we're thanking you guys enough. So once again, it's coming at you. 150 episodes later, it's grown into more than what we never would have expected what it is now. It's gone in a direction that we never would have expected, because this was uncharted territory for us when we first started the podcast, and it's remained the same idea from the beginning, and that's where Kelly and I just discussed the things that we enjoy, and hopefully people that can relate to what we talk about and what we cover. It's always comics that Kelly and I pick up every single week and news that relates to Batman especially, or the DC universe, but we do sprinkle in some Marvel stuff because, yes, we do watch some of that as well, or we will watch it too. And I think because of that, a lot of people have stuck with it and have enjoyed it. And even if they don't like the DC universe, for example, they can, I'm assuming, appreciate some of the reviews that we do for the comics, or even touch up on, at least catching them up on the DC side of the movies and the television. Either way, huge thanks for tuning in every single week. For the reviews, for the Patreon supporters out there, for the subscribers on YouTube, for the followers on Twitter, for the likes on Facebook, for the followers on Tumblr, on Instagram, everyone out there. Even if you just follow us on one of those accounts and you don't listen to the show, obviously you're not listening to this, but thank you. Thank you. Somehow it's going out there to you. Absolute huge thanks. 150 episodes. Love doing it with you. Handing it off to you now to thank listeners, because I know there are some out there that tune in just because you're on the show.
Guys, stop it.
If you weren't on the show, we'd lose a good amount of listeners. Oh, yeah.
So we'd lose like half, as in one.
We'd lose a good amount, yeah.
Yes, thank you guys so much. I'm so excited when I get a text from Daniel saying, hey, somebody wrote this question to you on Twitter. And I go, for me? Again, like a Christmas present every single day. And you know, we're so grateful that you guys listen. This show really is for you. We enjoy doing it, but you know, there are weeks when life piles up, and we're grateful to have this opportunity where we can just kind of get away and discuss what we love and put this out for you guys and interact with you guys. That's probably the best part for me is, you know, hearing from you guys and talking to other people about the things that we love. So thank you so much for your continued support, even if somebody downloads this just so they can say they hate us. Like, thank you.
It's one download, yes.
It's one download.
That's a support.
Feedback is great, but it's been amazing to me because I knew nothing of podcasts when we started this, and Daniel came up and said, hey, this is something I want to do, and being the kind, supporting wife or girlfriend,
Back then, girlfriend
at the time that I said, I mean, yeah, okay. But watching it grow and seeing all that it's become, and you know, I have to really give it to Daniel and all the hours he puts into this, and all the research that he does, and you guys, there's so much behind the scenes stuff that he takes care of, and so thank you so much for all the work that you put into this so that we can put out a great product for all of our listeners.
Oh, absolutely, you're welcome. But it all goes right back to you guys, the listeners, because that's what keeps me going. You know, when I'm up late at night editing or finding a new news story or interacting with you guys on Twitter, it's all because you're there and you're listening and you're interacting, or you're supporting us through reviews or Patreon or YouTube, whatever it is. It's because you exist and you're there to support us. And without that, I would not have the drive to continue this. And just like that, the podcast would fall apart. So huge thanks. And with us, the support that we do have, it's not something that's going to end anytime soon. So huge thanks. And again, I want to point you over to Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, Facebook.com/The Reasons I'm Broke, only because they allow us enough room, unlike Twitter, to put the 3 characters. And then if you want to find the link to everything, including the Patreon, head on over to nerdupmedia.com. Check out the rest of our shows on there, other podcasts like Those Two Jerks, video reviews like The Read Pile, and Let's Plays like The Lazy Gaming Guys. But of course, if you click on the Reasons I'm Broke tab, that's where you'll find a link to everywhere you can find us: Tumblr, Instagram, Patreon, YouTube, everywhere. So just head on over there, and one click, and you can follow us everywhere.
Once again, thank you guys so much. We've enjoyed these last 150 episodes. We look forward to another 150 episodes. Until next week, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next time.